everyone. Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and on our show today we have Melvin Harris. Melvin was born in Birmingham, Alabama, and he's been in the Brattleboro area for about 10 years. He worked for a while at C&S and Vermont Bread Company, and then he found himself homeless. And he's been living in abandoned houses, sleeping under bridges, and now he is a resident of the Great River Terrace, a supportive housing community on Putney Road, and we'll be talking more about that as well as what Melvin has been doing. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Melvin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Melvin, your early years back in Alabama, you
Yes.
Lived with your mom and your dad and two siblings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you had a pretty interesting life. You did a lot of traveling.
Yes, my mother was in the military. My father was a chef. So we traveled the country, in the world, growing up. A lot of different places, learned a lot of different things. So that was a pretty good experience.
Yeah, and you traveled as a family, and you were in a different country many times.
Right.
Many times
Yeah.
you were in a different home.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, it was great.
Yeah. And then you came back to the States?
My family and my mom went into, I believe, the reserves. So we moved back to Birmingham in early mid-'80s. It was pretty, at the time, Birmingham wasn't the best place. Drugs had just hit. They were flooding the communities, and some people got wrapped up in that. And so in a matter of months, it destroyed my family pretty much.
It did.
Yeah, so things went from being really good to really bad.
Yeah.
But my family in the South, they're hard working, very family orientated. So we did the best that we could, and everybody, a village raised a child. So aunts, uncles, we really didn't know who was what. We were just family.
Yeah.
But it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough growing up there. And stayed there for a while with my father. He became an addict. Was in the streets. Would see him rarely. And I had my older brother, who was about 17 at the time. He eventually paid for my plane ticket to come to Massachusetts to live with my mother, which was a better environment, and maybe educational-wise, my brother thought. So, left my father and them down there, came up here. My mother was addicted to drugs as well. So at 10, I was introduced very early to the streets, to things of that nature. My mother tried to do the best that she could with her addiction, with the kids. But the streets is very strong. So I ended up getting in trouble, in and out of trouble, small things. Then my mother met a gentleman from Greenfield, Massachusetts, because she was in the reserves. And things changed drastically. It was more of a suburban area. But better schools. At that time it was like I could see the sky. I stopped looking up for a while. Trees, sun, just didn't matter. But when I got to this place, it was like wow. And that was kind of hard. Back in the 90s, I was one of the first black kids in town. Played football, so it was a gift and a curse. So things, it got better in Greenfield. My mother started getting sober, but from me living in Springfield, the mentality had already gripped me. So when I moved to Greenfield, a lot of the kids were not that far ahead. So here I am, and I'm thinking I'm cool and wanting to, try to play football and hang out with the tough kids. And eventually hanging out with the tough kids got me in trouble. Yeah. I ended up going to prison for 5 years when I was 17.
You're 17, and they sent you to prison.
Yeah, 5 years for that, in a state prison in Massachusetts. So I ended up doing the whole 5 years. And while in prison, as a young man at 17, you're around a lot of grown men, different type of people. So in reality, the facts is that you're going to be a victim or you're going to be, not victimizer, but you're going to be the one taking advantage. You're going to be taken advantage of. And me being 17, I was a rough kid anyway. I was very strong, and I was willing to fight and go whatever extremes it took. And you had to do that in order to survive.
Right.
I've seen guys come in there and lose everything. They say that even if you lose, you got to defend yourself, and that's just the moral. So, in that 5 years, that's what I became. And in prison at that time, I did some college courses, and so I did a lot of studying in history and things like that. But there weren't many classes for reintegration, to help someone, a young man, reintegrate into society.
Right, and but you were taking classes, so you were able to continue your education to a certain degree. At least.
Well, once I was released, I was bitter. Went to jail when I was 17. When I came home, my family was gone. It was just me.
This is in Greenfield?
Yeah. My mother had moved. They went back active duty. They moved to Korea. So they were pretty far away.
Yeah.
My father was in Birmingham, and at that time, we were estranged. When people divorce, parents say things about each other, but that's just what happened there. So I wasn't really looking, and from what I remembered, my father was a drug addict. A bad man, tough guy. He was a good man, but he was just, he was for real. And I did not know the changes that he had been making in his life.
Because you hadn't been in touch with him, years,
because I hadn't been in touch with him,
yeah.
right. So what happened is that one day, I believe, my sister was like, "Hey, Dad wants to talk to you." Why would he want to talk to me for, So we talked, and I found out that he's been clean probably 25 years now. One day he went to a homeless shelter called the Fire Station in Birmingham with his best friend. He woke up the next day, his best friend was gone. He stayed. So he's now he's now a caseworker at the very shelter where he started at.
Wow.
He owns 2 recovery programs for men to help them get out of jail and to get back on their feet. There's 8 men in one home and 7 in another. He goes around on Sundays. He picks up the homeless, takes them to church. He does tons of things. He's a deacon at his church. He's a man of Birmingham now.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I go down there and I see that now, that gives me the hope that he's Melvin, I'm Melvin. It's in us.
That is an interesting way to have your father as a role model.
Right.
That he was able to turn his life around.
All the way around.
Yeah.
Right. No doubt about it. And if he can do it, and I can.
Yes. Right.
And he's 24/7. It's God, patience, empathy, recovery.
Yep.
Recovery first.
Yep. And your mom?
Well, my mom passed away some years ago from liver disease. But before she went, she said she was sober. She lived a great life, traveled the world, did great things.
Yeah.
Military woman.
Yeah.
She loved military. So she did good.
Yeah.
It was no regrets.
You talked about how getting out of prison and getting clean and getting jobs and that kind of thing, and then how strong the pull is, and how hard it is not to relapse, depending on your environment and many other factors.
Right. Well, once I left prison, I didn't know anything. All I knew was defense, respect, and if anyone crossed those lines, then it was extreme things to pay. And I didn't. It was for me. It was either all or nothing. Because in prison, it's all or nothing. There's no in between. And for a while, I had to learn that on the streets that I don't have to be that person, because what happens is people expect you to be a tough guy, or they expect you to be something, and then you embody that, even when that may not be you.
Right.
So I did that for a while, and my parents were addicts, like I said. My mom, I've seen my mother, use get high. And I used to say that, I'll never do that, ever, like never, ever. And I just remember years later, after getting out of prison, I'm smoking crack too. And it was shameful, degrading, and I always felt that I was a better person than that. I was educated, went to good schools. I'm like, you know better than that. But the brain, and in my case, depression, loneliness, just things add up. Not feeling worth it, abandonment. That's what gave me an escape.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I got in more trouble. Simple things. I would just go to jail all the time, and so I just stopped caring. I just stopped caring about myself, and didn't. When I was in jail, I got 3 hots in a cot.
You got what?
3 hots in a cot. That's a bed.
Oh, 3 hots in a cot.
3 hots in a cot, right?
Yeah.
And from being in prison for so long, I was institutionalized. So I used to look forward to someone telling me to get up, someone telling me to eat dinner, someone telling me to do this. So those were all things that I had to redo or relearn.
Yeah. And were you getting support, Melvin, at that time when you were out from being incarcerated?
No. At the time, there weren't many programs in the area. Yeah, it was you're out. Fend for yourself.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there was some things somewhere, but they weren't always made as available. I guess the programs weren't networking, I guess, good enough. So there was a lot of back and forth.
I mean, going in and out of being incarcerated,
right.
and the safety of that even.
Right. And it was in Greenfield. It was my home anyway. I went to school with a lot of the correctional officers, and I knew all the people. So even when I was in jail so much and so often, they knew me as a person. They knew that I wasn't a bad person. They knew that I wasn't out there hurting people. I was an addict. I supported my habit, and I was typically in jail for violation of probation, dirty errands. So it was a lot of that. So I would talk to cops. Like I would tell them, your job as a police officer, my job is a robber. If you catch me, you catch me. And I've never had a problem with the police, and they've never ever given me any issues as well. Yes. Even to move into the place that I live, police officers, probation officers, wrote letters of recommendation stating my character. When I'm sober.
How did you get to Brattleboro? I know it's not a big leap from Greenfield.
Well, I was heavy into drugs, and I met this young lady, and she was kind of lost as well, and she was from Vermont, and she was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and I was the wrong crowd as well. But I say I have a heart. I care about people. And I've always respected women, no matter what field of realm where they're in. I've always just done. My mother raised me that way. So she was lonely and in the wrong place, and I was using. And she was like, "Can I stay with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but listen, I use drugs. I don't want you to try to convince me not to. If you do, you're gonna have to leave." So she just sat there for about probably a month, and just sat there. She didn't do any drugs. She just sat there, and just said, "You're better than this." So one day on a down day, she was like, "We should just go." So we hopped in her 1989 Toyota Camry box.
Which is probably still running.
It's probably still running somewhere. And she drove me out to this place called 10 Mile. And 10 Mile is where people go out to drink. It's a long river, and it's this long. And we slept out there, me and her, for about 2 months, just me and her. So we grew a bond. I'd rock her to sleep every hour. I'd get up, turn the car off because of carbon monoxide. We'd take baths in the river. So we grew a very tight bond in that time. And we were both struggling with certain things. And then she was like, "Well, there's this place called the Lamplighter. It's not the best, but you'll be safe from where you are now." So we moved into the Lamplighter. It wasn't the best place, but it was my start. I got away from the very bad situation that I was in. So she would go to work back to Greenfield. I'd stay in the house, wouldn't leave, because I knew that if I did, and at that time I didn't really know anybody in Brattleboro, but I know as me being an addict, I could find something.
Right.
So I stayed in the house, and she would come home, feed me, and we went from there, and we got an apartment eventually, got married. I got sober for a number of years. Things were good. But I think that arrogance or forgetting where I came from.
Or brain chemistry.
Yes. I thought that I was doing it myself. I stopped taking my medication.
Yeah.
Is what it really was. And I thought that this was all my doing, and it's great. So I ended up just leaving my family, which was a very big mistake. We had beautiful children, private schools, and the Montessori schools here. Things were. I was going to the Moose Club in Bellows Falls. I was playing poker with the greatest people. They were awesome people that I thought that I'd never interact with. Yeah. Just having a great time. So things were really good, but again, I didn't think that I deserved it, or I thought that I deserved better.
And that's really key, isn't it? In terms of going back to what you know, or to the life that you knew, and also having that inculcated in you over the years of being incarcerated and being out on the street and all of that. So that's a really hard one.
Right, and I think what was a part of it is that my wife and I, when we were together and married, and I was sober, we would go downtown and feed people that were homeless. So I was interacting with the people downtown, giving people rides, picking up people hitchhiking, trying to give back. But I wasn't doing programming. I had just found my family, and that's what was my happiness. But I didn't get a foundation. So every day that I was out there giving out coffee or sandwiches or talking to the people, and believing that I'm doing something good, which I was, my demons were there. They were there waiting, and I wasn't ready. And it started out small, once a week, a couple times a week. Not coming home, and my wife, she was a very good woman. She put up with a lot. I would spend all of our money. We had nothing. Her parents would help us out a lot. We were in a very bad place, but by the grace of God, someone called DCF. Now, a lot of people say that DCF, they're afraid of them, this and that, and I was too at first. I fought them. When they came to my door, I said, listen, don't even bother.
You had a couple kids by then, right?
Yes, we had a couple of kids, One of my sons was born, he was a micro preemie. He was about probably 11 ounces. And it's very rare. And they had some issues with that, and if we could take care of him. Then we had another son, which was a little bit older. So they had some issues and some concerns. So what happened was that they came in and got involved. But what happened with them getting involved is that I stopped fighting because I was tired of fighting. When I moved to Brattleboro, I realized that it doesn't matter who you are, what culture you come from. If you're a good person, kind, will work, respect people's things, that Vermont will you'll just be another person trying to live their life, because everyone in Vermont, I believe for the most part, are good people, and I really love Vermont, and I'm not leaving Vermont. That's just that.
And through DCF, through that channel, is that how you came to be at Great River Terrace?
DCF, they linked us to a lot of programs, programs from psychological for us, early education for our children, tutoring, housing, support. They showed us we met people through them that we would have never met before. So we used DCF as a stepping stone. We worked with them and they worked with us. We weren't perfect, but they knew that we were trying.
That's right.
And eventually, it caught on, and we went on about our way.
Yeah.
And I would go back and say hi to them, and like I said, they wrote letters of recommendation for me.
Yes.
That's huge.
And now you're at Great River Terrace.
Yes.
And which is offering so many various. They're working with was Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust,
right,
which started the whole thing,
right,
working with Groundworks and all the things that Groundworks
right,
has on board, as
right,
well as HCRS,
right,
which offers all kinds of health and rehabilitation services.
right.
So, and you are able to take advantage of a lot of those things.
All of it.
Yeah.
I moved in on August 1st, and being homeless, not knowing where I'm going to live, not knowing if you can eat, if anyone cares, I didn't have the courage to ask for money. So I was always doing other things. But when I found Great River Terrace, I didn't believe it. When they said, "Hey, listen, we chose you," I said, "Listen, my name is Melvin Harris. You guys need to go back and do some research, man. You get the wrong guy, man. Don't do this." And I'm like, you just can't do this, man. I'm 42 years old. I've never had my own place. I've lived with people, but there was never an independence. So they were like, "No, we're going to show you your place." We went there. They helped furnish with a television, a bed, a table, some dishware, and it was bare at first. It was lonely.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it was as if it was mine. I thought that someone was going to come take it. And they would just tell me, "Melvin, listen, this is yours. If you want it, it's yours." And then I got to meet the people that are in the community. And we have similar backgrounds. So we all have a great respect and understanding for each other's bad times, good times. It's very respectful because we all understand that we come from a tight place that it's all the same.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of sharing, caring.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's all right. Just get back up. So that took a while. Because after I was there for like a month and a half, 2 months, I didn't think that I deserved it, so I left. And it was one of the coldest months of the year, but I know outside and the streets called, so I was sleeping in the abandoned buildings for about 2 weeks.
You did?
Yeah, and
here in town?
Here in town, yeah. And my workers, Emma, Josh, and Alexis was like trying to reach me, find me. And that started to say, "Hey, listen, man, people care. Just come home. There's no judgment. Just come back. This is your place. You don't have to stay in the streets, Melvin. You have a place to live, to sleep, to eat." So, I got back there, and there was no judgment. People come up from Turning Point. We have different classes, drug classes, wellness classes, grief classes. We have a huge day room other than our apartments, with a flat screen TV, a computer for us to use, the kitchen. So we always have dinners there, game nights. There's always someone there to help support, just like even today, I was a little nervous, but I called one of my workers and she was here. So like that's the thing that really counts.
It's a real community.
It's a real community.
It's a real community.
Yeah, and I've never had that. So like I try to engulf myself in that. And everything that's going on there. For so long I say that I've been on the fringe of society, but I believe that on my medications and seeing things and stepping out, that I want to be a part of something. It doesn't have to. I don't have. I just want to be on the boat. I don't have to be the captain. Just want to be on it. So as long as I'm there, and I want to meet different people, I want to learn different things. I want to help change people's perception of individuals that are drug addicts, homeless, or mental illness. Because some are very intelligent, some are very kind, some are very good people. Circumstances are very, very common. And it's very easy, and it can happen to anyone. you know.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's part of it, and I think that's part of hearing your story and hearing what your childhood was like,
Right.
and a family that cared about you, and an extended family
Right.
as well that you're connected with.
Right.
And to realize how just certain things can happen, and they just get in certain configurations, and you know,
Right.
all of a sudden you're left alone,
That's it.
or all of a sudden you get in trouble.
Right, and you know, for me, loneliness is a major. You know, now that I'm getting sober, and learning, like knowing myself, you have to learn to like yourself. I have to learn to trust myself. I have to learn to tell myself that it's okay. And these are things that that judgment wasn't there. I didn't like myself, you know. At Great River Terrace, the people that come there, they're awesome people. They care. You know, this is their job, but they're there all the time, overtime,
Yes.
in time. It's just overabundance of love, you know, human kindness.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way,
It goes a real
a very long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an amazing group of people, and I think the other thing, I was fortunate enough to be over there the other day, and I hadn't seen it since it was completed, and to see how great the units are. They're really wonderful. Melvin's room is fabulous.
Yes,
you got
yes.
everything you need
Yeah,
there.
I got it all.
It's really incredible. And then you walk out the door, and there are people you know, and it really is. It feels like a real community.
Right, and there's always someone around.
Yeah.
And someone's going through something.
Yeah.
You're never alone, and in that nature, you know, if there's someone that's older there, which, you know, there's a guy named John. John, you know, he's a pretty old guy, can't do his trash as much, but we all, you know, stop in, trash, laundry. You know, I play a game of cribbage with him every morning. That's our thing. Sometimes he wins. I'll tell everybody that I beat him all the time. But he might say otherwise. But no, it's just very. I feel like I have a home, people that care, that understand.
Yes.
You know, we have a tenant council meeting. We try to alleviate any issues on the property. You know, what can we do to resolve a situation? You know, what will make you feel better about what happened, so that we can learn to handle situations better.
Well, that's the thing. Learning skills, I think, is part of what you're getting when you come together in that community room, and you have different people from the outside coming in and talking to you.
We have a board that people put up that, you know, I'm having issues with this, or please can you keep these triggers away, or please can you not do this. So there's a board, a tree that we have, and you know, people read it. It's there.
Yeah.
So and I think that for the most part, people respect it.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Yeah. Those of us who live in Brattleboro, we are very aware and have become more and more aware of the homeless community in town. And it is a community in town. It is part of our town, you know. Everyone is part of our town.
In regards to the homelessness and mental illness, I attend a group every month at the co-op.
Oh yes, right, the core group.
The core group, and in regards to the homeless, like I said, it being a community in Brattleboro, you know, this is where people are. We're trying to make it where we're coming up with ideas where we can take away the stigma that homeless people, drug addicts that are out there are people that are undesired or don't have family or that aren't loved. And, you know, I think that hopefully in the future that we'll come up with some ideas and some pamphlets and, you know, try to let people, the community at large know that, hey, listen, you know, you see these people, and sometimes, you know, it might be a little nerve-wracking, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working on it.
You're coming up with strategies.
Yes.
When you come together with that group.
Right. That's what it is, strategizing.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And your talents, I think, are really coming to the fore with that kind of thing. Things you didn't even realize, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or that I did, but shy, embarrassed, thinking that no one would want to hear me or see me.
Or having a place where you can voice them. That's a big part.
Or even having the right. I didn't think that no one would want to listen. You know.
That's right.
But I think that if people just give me a moment, they understand that you know, I've changed. I'm trying, and I might even know a little bit of something. I know the people in the street.
Yes, you do.
I know that no one wants to be cold. No one wants to be hungry. No one wants to be an addict.
That's right.
No one. I didn't want to be an addict, and I still don't want to be an addict. I fight with it every day. When I'm depressed, when I'm alone, when I'm happy. It happens all the time, but at the same time, I've been sober for a couple of weeks now, and I'm in the moment. I'm here with you in this moment.
Yes. On TV.
On TV,
Yeah.
and that's something that I take to heart.
Yes.
I observe everything. I see things. I smell things. I hear things now that I didn't before.
Yeah.
And this is a matter of 5 minutes can get that urge to pass.
Yeah. Right.
Do something different.
Yeah.
Run, scream, yell.
Yeah.
Do whatever you have to do.
Yeah.
Just get there.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot to be said for knowing that you can come home again.
Right. And that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. Because, when I was in the streets before and I had nothing, it was like, everybody's done. I don't have any money. I don't have any more things to give. All right, time for everybody to go home. Well, where are you going?
Right. Yeah, and to know you're going home not only to warmth and food,
Right.
but a community and all of these different supports that are coming in.
Right. So God forbid, but relapse is part of recovery. Sometimes some people more than others. But what they try to teach us at Great River Terrace is that you're not always going to be successful, but just know that you have GRT. Come home, no judgment. We'll talk about it.
That's right.
We'll try to troubleshoot it.
Yeah.
We're not going to say you're a bad person. We're not going to say, hey, that's screwed up. It's none of that.
That's right.
If you give an individual a chance, I believe. There's going to be those that, take advantage of it and whatever. But I believe if you, at the core, if you give an individual a chance, trust, friendship, kindness, it can go a long way.
Yeah.
In a matter of 6 months, my life has turned around.
That's right.
I didn't know where I was going. Didn't know if I wanted to live or die or slow. And today I'm here, and my kids are happy. I'm happy. I'm clean.
Yeah.
Dressed nice. Take a shower. So those are the things that I believe that we need to work on more of. There's a lot of places in Brattleboro, that can be used, I believe, for people that are homeless. There's a ton of things that are out there, and it's just a matter of the people that are homeless and the people that work with the homeless, working with the business owners downtown, the homeowners downtown, and figuring out, hey, listen, what can best suit both of our needs? What can we do together? Because I believe that people want to help.
But don't know how.
Right.
That's why a group like the core group is so important.
Right. And sometimes the voices that don't care about the people that are out there are too loud. So if a person wants to say something, they don't because, they don't want to be, go against the grain. But the reality is that these are the people in Brattleboro. We're Brattleboro. And I believe that we should take care of Brattleboro. I don't think that they should give out handouts, but I believe that people should be given opportunities, even if it's picking up trash, even if it's there's an eyesore over here. Hey, you guys, you can help you guys out with a couple of hours of the work.
That's right.
Volunteer. Those are things that can help people in their situations. And one of my drug counselors said to me the other day, I was like, I go to this core tenant meeting for the town, and like sometimes I just feel like people aren't there. And he said, Melvin, listen, he says, if we catch one fish, if we get one person to come here, and one person walks out of here and gets sober, they can change numerous lives.
That's right.
He was like, so, and when he said that, I was like, wow, so I was being a pessimist, and I'm like, Melvin, you know what? Like, open up.
Yeah.
You're being so closed-minded, right? Because sometimes you got to catch flies or bears with honey.
Yeah.
You just got to get them there.
Yeah.
And once you get them there,
Right.
Things can change.
Yeah.
You show them it's okay.
That's right.
And
here you are. Here we are in Brattleboro, right? And it's
Brattleboro.
happening.
It's happening. It's going down.
I'm so glad you're on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
I really appreciate you coming
I appreciate
on
it.
and hearing your story.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope that you guys hear much more about me.
I hope we do too.
Yes.
I think we will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melvin.
Thanks.
Thanks to all of you so much for being with us today. It was a wonderful story. It's great to have Melvin on the show, and I just want to underline the fact that Wyndham Windsor Housing, Groundworks, and HCRS, DCF, everybody's trying so hard to do such a good job and succeeding. And like Melvin says, you know, you catch one fish and there are more behind them.
Just catch one.
So yeah, just keep your eyes open and be here with us. Thanks so much.